new book is The New Great Depression. And when we come back, we'll get into the really bad news. But most importantly, I think most important is be aware.
It is a common saying that history repeats itself. And right now, we are facing another economic crisis that we have already encountered in the past. But the question is, why is it still unsolved, or at least shows no progress? Let's compare the economic crisis with COVID-19 pandemic. These two challenges have almost similar prognosis when left unsolved. Let's start with coronavirus. The coronavirus has shocked and plagued the world. From the health crisis, COVID-19 has become the catalyst for the economic disaster we face today.
Every depression and all that has come from crushing of production. And that's what we've just done due to this COVID. So we come back, we're finding out what you can do, where the optimism is, what the bright side is, but most importantly, how you can prepare for the new Great Depression.
A few recorded epidemics and pandemics throughout history that killed millions, including the Spanish flu, the Russian plague, Philadelphia yellow fever, influenza flu, American polio, the Asian flu, HIV and AIDS, H1N1 swine flu, Ebola, Zika virus, and the current coronavirus. These health crises cripple economic stability worldwide. Despite having multiple experiences with pandemics and epidemics, we still lack an immediate appropriate response to combat it, at least contain it. However, many nations deal with the pandemic more effectively than the superpowers. Taiwan is first on the list. After receiving the first COVID-19 patient in the country, Taiwan responded immediately. They quickly stopped international flights, confined travelers, prevented cruise ships from docking, performed extensive testing, and dramatically increased face mask production. Furthermore, Taiwan gave patients with COVID-19 and those they interact with considerable support, including monetary payments to encourage the public to adhere to health regulations. Taiwan is kept under 800 cases because of these measures while avoiding lockdowns. Taiwan is telling the world that its prompt response aided them in beating COVID-19. But did you know that Liberia, the most badly hit by Ebola in 2014, Senegal, and Uganda used their experiences from past epidemic outbreaks to implement swift, expert, comprehensive responses? They started screening for coronavirus in airports, implemented rapid testing, and completed contact tracing and quarantine. The preventative measure causes these countries to have low mortality rates. How about New Zealand? The country began implementing its influenza plan immediately, which included hospital preparation and tightening border control policies. After a month, the country underwent a countrywide lockdown due to a lack of testing kits and contact tracing capacity. New Zealand declared the pandemic over in just 3 months, which reported one of the lowest mortality rates. Additionally, one U.S. territory has no deaths related to COVID-19. Furthermore, this territory has stopped all incoming flights, which has assisted in halting the spread of COVID within the region. The complete isolation of American Samoa has prevented any COVID-19 cases. No testing, lockdowns, or social distancing are required in the territory, just as they did during the 1918 influenza pandemic when they managed to prevent fatalities. In the early weeks of the epidemic, South Korea tested intensively and early after realizing that people without symptoms could spread COVID-19. The country carried out more than twice as many tests per person as other nations, and prevented instances from leaking out of control, along with additional measures, including extensive and highly successful contact tracking and quarantine. And there are a lot more countries that excel when addressing the COVID-19 situation. What does that mean for the economy? We are facing economic hardship as we speak. But didn't we experience it before? The current pandemic, past epidemics, and pandemics have plagued people's health, just like inflation has plagued the economy. But we are not fighting this enemy blindly. We have recorded and documented these events, and now have data and better technology to combat the situation.
And then what happens is, what would you say to somebody who's either lost their job or afraid they're going to lose their job, or they've lost their business? You have any suggestions on how you navigate out of that?
But why do the US, EU, and China, considered superpower nations, but when it comes to addressing the COVID-19 issue, other countries did it better, if not best. And there is no wonder why these nations poorly handle the economic crisis. It might be political or experimental, but either way, innocent people are paying with their lives. What if these countries handled the economic crisis the way they handled COVID? As prompt as Taiwan? As cautious and preventative as Liberia? Damage control by New Zealand? Isolation strategy by American Samoa? As critical thinkers as South Korea? The coronavirus has been the worst pandemic, but this is not the last pandemic we will ever face. The same with the current economic crisis. It will not be the last, but as a nation, we should address this better than before. We are now in the transitioning part where we are going to transition from the industrial era to the information era. But are we ready to ride the fast-changing world? Money is always a controversial issue. They say, money is the root of all evil. People do nasty things because of money. They will steal, hurt, and even kill somebody for money. But if you think deeper, isn't the lack of money the root of all evil? Because if you have enough money, you will not be able to think about stealing or hurting someone to have some money. On the contrary, if you don't have money you start to think about doing nasty stuff. It has been passed down from generation to generation that money is evil. The poor believe that the rich were crooks, and that all their money came from evil deeds. And they stop dreaming of being wealthy, for they think it is better to live a poor life than to live a wealthy yet evil one. But honestly, what they lack is financial education. If they know how money works, they will know that the wealthy aren't crooks, they are just financially literate. Financial literacy is expensive, but isn't being illiterate more costly? Robert Kiyosaki said, "The rich don't work for money." But you will start thinking that if you are poor, how to get rich without working for money? The context is correct. Even Robert worked at Xerox. But he wasn't rich then. He was poor, but with a wealthy mindset. That's the idea that the rich don't work for money. We indeed need to work to acquire money, but we must ensure that we are not working and looking for job security. Instead, we aim to get out of poverty, and the money we acquire from work is the stepping stone to escaping the poverty zone. Start funding your financial education once you have adequate money. It is essential to focus on education first. Looking for a specific mentor is one option. Taking seminars related to financial education is also advisable. Don't save. People who keep their money are losers. Saving your money in the bank will not generate any income. Instead, it will depreciate over time due to inflation. Now, if you think buying a house is the most significant decision in your life, then you're wrong. A home is not an asset. By definition, an investment should generate income, but a house needs money for maintenance and thus does not create any money. The pandemic has taught us that there is nothing specific in this world. Big companies like Amazon and Meta have decided to lay off employees. Many retailers went bankrupt due to COVID-19. Offices became vacant due to work-from-home setups. Job security is no longer secure, just like the retirement fund and health assistance promised by the government to cover the upcoming elders. According to national studies, young individuals have among the lowest levels of financial knowledge. Children need to learn how to decide, even at a young age, to select a professional and educational path and manage any spare cash they may have, whether from side jobs or allowances jobs. Youngsters are the primary victim of a lack of financial knowledge. In the UK, 96% of teenagers worry about money daily, and 52% are in debt at 17. In the US, only a quarter of teenagers know about inflation and risk diversification and can do simple interest calculations. In Malaysia, only 2% choose financial products, and the data goes on. It is a growing concern that needs immediate and appropriate action. The OECD advocated for financial literacy in academic curricula in 2005. It is crucial that at a very young age they start to acquire knowledge and skill which will be relevant in the future. But it will be a lengthy process because of the barriers it needs to overcome, like lack of political will, resources and materials, and insufficient expertise. The school teaches students all complex things about math and science, but never talks about anything about money. The problem starts with what the teacher is teaching. The teacher doesn't practice his teaching because the subject is not usable in real life. The problem is not the teacher. It is the education system. It flooded our curriculum with issues and irrelevant topics in the real world. So whoever crafted the current education system has isolated students from learning about money and finances. They wanted the students to focus on finding a job, paying taxes, saving in a bank, and the idea of the government taking care of them when they retire. The illusion has been circulating for a long time and corrupts teenagers today. It must come to an end, and a change is a must. And this change can start in a house, on a dinner table. A home is a safe place where we can create anything. As a parent, we can direct our children to appropriate financial mentors if we are incapable. As young adults, we can choose to be mentored by teachers who have proven everything they teach. And as a teacher, we need to encourage more and more students to learn about money. This way, we can say we have done our part in the community. It's time to have the transformation we need to survive the fast-changing world. It is in high priority to get the prerequisite knowledge and skills before transforming. The industrial age is past its climax, and we are now entering the information age. And as we speak, many have crossed the bridge and successfully exhibited life in the information era. The big tech companies are already in their mature form. Fiat has its digital equivalent, which is cryptocurrency. Work setups are now transitioning to virtual meetings. Robots will soon replace human labor in factories. And the existence of successful AI and metaverse will fuel the rocket ship to this transformation. But with our current knowledge and skill, do you think you are ready? Are you able to adapt to the fast-changing world? Are you equipped with the proper education? If no is your answer, start looking for a trustworthy mentor. Start looking for a community that will help you grow as the person you want to be.
And it was tough getting jobs, in 2008, 2009. And I said, well, start your own business, create your own job, make your own job. And they did. Many of them did, and they're having some success. So
start seeking education that will prosper your dreams. Optimism is the essential attitude a strong human should possess. Charles Darwin coined the term survival of the fittest, wherein whoever fits in the world can survive. But it is more than being fit. Even unfit organisms transform to be appropriate on this planet. And for you to change, you need to be optimistic. A positive mind that always sees that is always good for every bad thing that is happening. A bright sense gives you options and solutions to overcome the barricade you are currently facing. Instead of moping around, think of these challenges as a trial to see if you are ready and fit. In science, optimism helps people to become happier, more prosperous, and healthier. Optimism can protect against depression, more resistance to stress, and can make people live even longer. We can be more productive and hopeful if we apply this attitude in facing COVID or the economic crisis. The world is full of hardships, obstacles, and challenges, and as a tenant of this planet, we should be able to adapt to survive. So that's another financial tip for you guys. But before you close this video, kindly click the subscribe button and the notification bell to keep you updated. Watch this next video to learn more tips about investing and financial education.